listening to Everyday Messages with Amy Barilla, the Reiki Gal Las Vegas, providing you modern intuitive mentoring and messages from the other side. Welcome to the show.
Hi everyone, I am so excited. Welcome to the very first show on Authentic UTV. My name is Amy Barilla, the Reiki Gal. I'm broadcasting live from beautiful sunny Las Vegas, Nevada, and it is Friday, August 14th, 2015, and I'm really happy to be here. So good morning to everyone here in the States. Good afternoon, it's about 2 o'clock on the East Coast, and we're gonna have a great show today. A little bit of background about me for those who have never heard of me before. Again, the name of my practice is the Reiki Gal in Las Vegas. I've been in private practice serving the needs of women and children in the Valley for 8.5 years. However, earlier this summer, I made the decision to actually close down my physical practice and focus strictly on providing mentoring and reading. So I'm no longer working on any clients in office doing hands-on healing. Everything I'm doing is online, and I'm actually loving this new chapter in my life. And so I'm an intuitive, I'm a mentor, I provide inspiration and motivation and channeled messages from the other side. So we're gonna have a really good time each week on the air. And I wanted to share a little bit of how this show will work each week. I like to come up with a theme. I think that keeps things in check. And when we have a theme, it's kind of like we're sitting in that vortex of energy and we have something that we're rotating and gravitating towards. And so the theme will be paired with a lot of channeled information. Of course, I welcome calls on the air where you'll have an opportunity to ask me a quick question and I'll provide some insight and guidance for you. I love doing that for people. So it brings me a lot of joy. I'm from upstate New York, and actually I'm from Schenectady, New York. For those who are familiar with that side of the country, I've lived in the desert going on 18 years. So it's been a long time. And today, without any further ado, I'm gonna unveil or unleash our theme to you. And we're gonna be talking about screwing courage to the post. And for those of you who may be familiar with that term, we're not casting it out and saying forget about it. What we're doing is we're making courage, we're going to be talking about it and how we can make it a more pivotal point in our foundation. Because let's face it, this life that we're living can get messy. Life has complications, it has plot twists, bumps in the road. And when things come up in our human journey, we often wonder, am I going to be able to see myself through this? I don't feel very brave or courageous. And these are teachable moments, if you will, where we can talk about some action steps to move you through the phase of not feeling so brave and bringing that up within you. Like a phoenix, you can rise from the ashes and rebirth and renew and regenerate yourself. Okay, so we're going to talk about screwing courage to the post. So grab your cup of coffee, your latte, your tea. For me, I've got my favorite Muppets water cup. So I can stay hydrated and refreshed for some water, and we're going to get moving. So let's talk a little bit about the healing color that we're going to in this week's show. So I'm into color because as humans, we can close our eyes and we can visualize a particular color that's streaming through our bodies, providing an additional layer of healing. And so I like to sit for a minute and connect with what that healing color would be. So for this week, our color is, I wish I had a drum roll. It's aqua. Okay, and I pull a card based on what I feel the listeners out there need to connect to. And I pull from Ina Siegel's The Secret Language of Color deck. and aqua is what came to the surface. And aqua is all about infusing that layer of peace, calm, and serenity. And when we're moving through the various storms that surface in our life, we don't feel very peace-filled, and we sure as hell don't feel very calm. So when you're triggered and you're in that moment, I want you to just sit and close your eyes, regain your center, and visualize that beautiful stream of aqua coming from above through your crown, top of your head, that's our God center, and streaming and filling your body and moving out through the bottoms of your feet deep into the earth to further anchor you and reconnect you, okay? So that's your healing color for the week. That carries you from this Friday until we meet again on the airwaves next Friday, all right? So I'll remind you of that throughout the show. I won't ever leave you hanging. I'll make sure that you have plenty of reminders. And I also want to remind you that if you're listening today and you'd like to call in and talk to me live on the air and get a reading, the call-in number is area code 917-889-3818. And I want to thank Michelle and the crew at Authentic You, because they've been wonderful, and I'm really super jazzed to be working with such a talented group of people, okay? So we've got a caller in queue already, and her name is Catherine, so we're going to bring Catherine on the air. Hi, Catherine. It's Amy. How are you?
Hi, Amy.
Hi. Thanks so much for calling. How you doing today?
Yeah, good. First time I've listened to your show, so great. I'm glad I found it.
I'm really happy to have you listening. What can I do for you today? What you need help with, my friend?
Yeah, I guess it's the subject that you have today. Your subject of the day matches for me. I just moved to a new city a couple months ago, so it's like being brave of, starting. Anything you see about me for that?
Yeah.
Stuff out there.
Yeah, this is really wonderful. You really have taken a huge action step in your life. And I know that all the stuff that happened to you leading up to this decision, it was almost like, I'm going to call it a perfect storm, because it really was what you needed to kind of thrust you into this new area. And I know a big thing for you is you want to adopt a really strong core tribe now that you're in this new location. And those people are coming. You're doing a really fantastic job putting it out there. Okay, so but here's one of the things. Are you living by water, or are you near a body of water?
Yeah, I'm in San Francisco, so it's kind of surrounded by water.
Yeah, because I'm seeing a lot of water. So, okay, you're up in the Bay Area, and that's wonderful. It is very important that you utilize the healing energies of being near that water to further clear. Okay. There's some residual layers that are coming up for you, and I don't know if you've been feeling either overly emotional or highly irritated lately. Do either one of those?
Yeah, more of the emotional part.
So allow those waters to kind of cast away those final bits of worry, because they're just they were very deep, but now you've done some work, and now that you're in this new environment, they're coming towards the surface. So great job with doing that. And those people that you want to make your core tribe, they're coming.
Yeah.
They're coming. And it's
should I do something different, like to meet them, like more like meetup kind of things?
Actually, you don't. Do you belong to a church there?
No.
Okay, so there's something more spiritual based that will connect you to some more like-minded people. And so when yeah, and I'm not saying it has to be, a Catholic church or anything like that, but it just has that feeling for you where when you walk in, you feel like you're home.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah. So I would you can do the meetup. I mean, Meetup is a wonderful site where you can connect with like-minded people and find those activities that resonate with you. But do you live in a complex type, either like a condo, apartment, townhouse type setup?
I need to move, and I'm looking for a new place.
Yeah, and so I see that kind of, I call it communal living, because it's either going to be a townhouse or, an apartment or something like that. But what's interesting is that's not going to be very long term for you, because you're going to be moving into something bigger and better. Yeah.
I understand it takes a while. It takes a while when you move to get the permanent place. So I'm okay for another temporary to get there.
Yeah, so it's temporary, and because if you have your sights set on something bigger and better, that's where you should be focusing out there to bigger and better, because that will happen for you. You're really a great manifester. I don't think you believe yourself, though, that you are.
Yeah, I procrastinate.
Yeah. Well, here's what I say about procrastination. Procrastination is a signal that something within is going without. Does that make sense?
Meaning, yeah, can you expand on that?
Yep, I'll break it down for you. So when we procrastinate, that's a signal that something within ourselves has gone too long without. So we just push it off to the side. So let's just say, for example, you put off cleaning a room that's piled up with a lot of papers. So you're procrastinating. Well, that's a signal that you may not want to face something within those papers, because there are bills that have to be paid, or there are documents that remind you of a more painful part in your life journey. So we put it off. So we need to face those things and clear and heal them. So I always say there's something inside of you that's going without when you procrastinate.
All right. Yeah, I haven't heard that before. So thanks.
Yeah. Or, I'm getting, more childlike stuff too. So have some more fun. We procrastinate because we're always working, and we're not out there having enough fun.
I do. I'm not working a lot right now, so I am actually out there a lot.
Good.
Exploring everything in the city.
Good. I mean, and what a beautiful area that you've chosen as your, home base for right now. So that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's your homework for the next 7 days.
Okay.
You're going to utilize the color of aqua that I talked about earlier. So when you're not feeling so peace-filled and calm, I want you to just close your eyes, and I want you to focus on that stream of light, that aqua light coming down into your body. And when you feel as though you're procrastinating, I want you to ask yourself, what is in me that's going without? And see what floats to the surface. Chances are it's going to come up real fast.
All right.
Okay. Sound good? I thank you for calling. Yeah. Thanks for listening. And, go have a prosperous week, okay?
All right. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Catherine. Have a good one.
Okay, you too.
Thank you. Bye-bye. I love stuff like that. Part of the work that I do is kind of channeling that information, because as I said at the top of the show, this life we're living, it's messy. It can get ugly. That's just the bare reality of it. We're here because our soul decided to come in and have this human experience for all the lessons. And sometimes, pardon my French, those lessons are crummy and shitty. So what better way to work on those things than to have a set of tools, like channeled affirmations, which is part of what I love doing so much. I look at all these things that are happening, not only in my life, but in the lives of others that I work in. And I say, hey, that's an opportunity for stuff to download, so I can put it out there and let other people take from it and run with it. So here's a couple ways that you can connect with me. Obviously, if you're out there and you're just tuning in, my name is Amy Barilla. This is my inaugural kickoff show on Authentic UTV. The name of my show is Everyday Messages. You can call in by dialing 917-889-3818. Get in the queue and get online on the air so I can give you some loving 2x4s in the fanny. And also, too, if you want to find me, you can go to my main website, and that is www.thereikigal.com. You can also find me on Instagram at Reiki Gal Reality. And if you want to hook up with me on Facebook, you can find my community fan page at The Reiki Gal LLC. Okay, I got a lot of great people on there, so I post a lot of my daily channeled messages and affirmations and little videos through the fan page and on Instagram, and I love doing that. And I love hearing from all you guys, and I really appreciate that. And it's wonderful to see how many of you are sharing those messages, because not only do they resonate with you, but you know it could resonate with at least one person out there in the universe. Okay. So we're talking about courage today, and we're screwing that courage of ours to the post and what that means. So let's talk a little bit about some action steps that we can take when we're not feeling so brave or courageous. You know, the most common thing that we want to do, and trust me, this applies to me too. So a lot of times I'm taking a dose of my own medicine, is we kind of want to be like that ostrich. We want to stick our head in the sand. And that might be good for a short time, but you know, we've got to get back to living. And so how do we go about doing that? One of the things that I have found helpful is, you know, getting together with one of my mentors for some healing and for some talk therapy, or a very good friend who I can confide in and kind of unburden myself. And I'm very, very blessed to have a wonderful inner core and tribe in my life. So when things come up, I know who to turn to for that, and that's been a real source of healing and inspiration and motivation for me. But I also like to journal and write. And for me, writing some stuff down on what's making me feel not so brave or courageous, and then some action steps to move me towards that. And I think when we're looking at shifting and clearing and healing, we need to be really practical about it. And we need to look at those small steps that can make big impacts in our day-to-day life. And for me, those small action steps, and it could be, like I was telling Catherine earlier, going through a pile of papers that I let pile up, or going into my backyard and pulling some weeds, or going to a park and going for a walk to clear my mind. These are small things that can shift the energy for me, okay? But I want to make it clear that it's no matter what you're going through, that you can always find a reputable, qualified, and talented mentor, healed in your area. It's very important, because there are things that come up that just can't go at it alone. One of the things for me that happened in the past year is that I suddenly lost my dad on September 8th of 2014. And, you know, I have been working really hard at now focusing at what that loss has done in my life. Because for those of you who know me and know of my dad was not only my dad, he was like my buddy. So when he passed away without warning, you know, everything that I had known in my life had suddenly changed, like in the blink of an eye. I had talked to him on a Sunday, and by 5 p.m. the next day, he was gone. So this past year has been a real eye-opener for me in terms of what grief and loss is like for me, what that looks like, what that feels like, moving through those 5 stages of grief. And the wonderful gift that has come out of this to me is the fact that I can now communicate with my dad on the other side, and the wisdom and information that he shares with me, not only about our relationship, but what life is actually like for him now, and all the wonderful things that he's doing over there. So there are often times where I'll, you know, get that information during dream time or during my waking hours, and I'll type all that out and I'll share that channeled information. Because one of the things that he teaches me is that I haven't really gone anywhere. So when I get in that space and I want to pick up the phone and I want to call him, I understand now that he's still right here beside me, and he's here all the time. So that's a real blessing. And I have a new understanding and level of awareness and compassion for those who are grieving, because in my work, I received a lot of people in my office on a daily basis who were grieving the physical loss of a loved one. And then when it happened to me, it totally changed the playing field. So, you know, those 5 stages of grief are important, very, very important, and there's no timetable. but I knew that the work that my dad and I are now doing together was something that he wanted me to share with others. And so I joyfully do. And I am continuing and living through his energy and essence, and his legacy is something that I take great pride and joy, because he was philanthropic and he's very charitable, and I enjoy carrying on those good works and paying it forward in his memory. So that's my little bit about my daddy-o, who peacefully went home. He peacefully went home in his own recliner watching Jeopardy on September 8th, 2014. So everything that I do moving forward is with him in mind. And for those of you who are out there listening and have gone through the loss of a loved one, I'm here for you. So please call in. That number today, if you want to get on the air, is 917 area code 889-3818. And one of the other things that we can talk about today when we're talking about some action steps for courage is writing and affirmations. And affirmations are a wonderful way to gain a renewed perspective on things, and also to shift that energy. So when you're triggered by those set of emotions and they cause you pain or anger or sorrow or sadness, you have something to refer back to that can kind of shift your energy. And everybody that I work with, every client that I worked with, whether they came into my office for care or whether I'm working with them online now through Skype or FaceTime or on the phone, one of the things that we do is when we set our intention for that session together, we're going to end that session with a really wonderful mantra or affirmation that's designed just for them, not for anybody else, but just for them. And I think that's really wonderful, because in the coming days, until we reconnect with one another, you have something that you can refer back to. So one of the channeled affirmations that I love sharing, and I'm going to share it with each of you today, is something that I tell everybody. And it's kind of like a blanket thing, because we kind of find that, you know, the old saying, we're our own worst enemy, or we're always in our own way. And sometimes that's true. When we dig our heels in so much, we lose complete perspective and clarity on how releasing those grips just a little bit, as I say, just a smidge or a skosh can allow the energy of flexibility and opportunity and new things to filter and flow into our lives, right? So here's our channeled mantra that I have prepared for you today. So it's just for today. Let it be, and lovingly get out of the way. Okay, just for today, let it be, and lovingly get out of the way. So when we feel we're standing in the current and it's causing resistance, I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to visualize yourself just taking a gentle step off to the side. Just for today, I'm going to let this be, and I'm going to get out of the way. And I'm going to see what happens and what changes for me. Because, you know, when stuff goes on, we really want to sometimes force our hand at making another, or forcing ourselves to look at a situation in a particular way, right? And when we're working with another, and when we're in relationships with other people, whether it be a romantic partner, your spouse, or your friend, or a coworker, or even a superior, you know, like your supervisor or your boss at work, and we want to make them look at it our way because we think that it's our way or the highway. Well, when you get in that space and you have something like a power mantra that you can refer back to, it helps. It really does help, okay? So just for today, let it be, and lovingly get out of the way. And I'm going to type that up for you guys in the chat room. If you're listening to this show through Blog Talk Radio, I will be available after the show today so that we can chat a little bit more for a few minutes after the show. And I'll put that up on the fan page and on Instagram too, okay? So if you're just tuning in, my name is Amy Barilla, the Reiki Gal, coming to you live from beautiful, sunny, and very hot Las Vegas, Nevada. But, you know, before we know it, we're going to be wearing our beanies and our scarves out here in the desert, if that even seems possible. If you're tuning in and you'd like to call and get on the air and have a reading we have room in the queue. I'd love to talk to any of you out there today. That call-in number is area code 917-889-3818. Okay. And our theme today is screwing courage to the post, and how beefing up our courage is a pivotal part of our foundation and personal growth overall and development, and how when we amplify our personal power, which is that sacral chakra, that's our solar plexus chakra. And for those of you who may not be familiar with those 7 main energy centers, our solar plexus is located just below the rib cage, and that's all about personal power and self-respect. And when it's open and flowing, it's got that beautiful yellow streaming and radiating out. But when we have life's obstacles and challenges show up, sometimes that vortex of energy closes down a little bit and collapses, thus making those other chakras that rest along the spinal column have to do double time or double duty. And that's when we start to not feel so well. And when things like this happen in our lives, those manifest either on a physical level, and they can also manifest on an emotional or spiritual level as well. Okay. So I'm here today. This is my life purpose, is to work with you guys and to help you identify what those challenges are. And we put together a plan of action, and we kind of clear the cobwebs and the dust bunnies, and we create some simple yet power-filled action steps so that you can move forward with grace and ease. That's a lot of the work I do. And I do a lot of readings as well. I enjoy doing readings. I enjoy, like when Catherine called in earlier, I love seeing all that stuff lay out in front of me like a film strip. And for me, that's how it shows up. So they're images, and they lay out in front of me like a film strip, which kind of puts together a little bit of a picture, if you will, no pun intended, of what's happening in her life or the life of who I'm working with. So I love it. I love it. I never knew that this is what I would be doing. My formal education is in case management and social services, so geriatrics was where I spent a good many years, and I loved it. Did a lot of hospital work and case management work and placement. And then when I had this opportunity to learn Reiki, it was actually because my dad was diagnosed with cancer back in 2006. And I was working with a dear friend of mine who ended up being my Reiki master, and she had taken some Reiki training, and I saw what a transformation it had in her life. And at that time, before my dad was diagnosed with cancer, I thought that I was happy and I was perfectly content with how my life was operating. And then when he got sick, it was kind of like Reiki showed up at the right time in my life. And I said, okay, I'll give this a try. So I took a series of Reiki classes, and my friend then became my Reiki master. And I started working strictly with hospice clients and end-of-life care. And that really brought a lot to the table in terms of energy work and healing work, and being a healing presence and providing something to not only the patient, the person who was in the last stages of their life, but to the family members and friends as well. So I spent a good part of my early Reiki journey days doing just that. And then I had an opportunity to meet a wonderful chiropractor here in town by the name of Dr. Shadia Corey of Chiropractic for Life. And in 2008, I joined her practice, and I started building my own Reiki practice, and I worked for her part-time because I didn't want to bite off more than I could chew. So what I did was I worked for her in her huge chiropractic office that focused on pediatrics and prenatal care. So I went from hospice work to beginning of life care, end of life care to beginning of life care. And so what I realized over time is that I was building and building and building, and I was in my Reiki room at Chiropractic for Life more than I was up front in the office helping Dr. Corey and the practice members there. So after about, I'd say a year, 16 months, I went to her and said, you know, I'm ready to spread my wings and make this my full-time job. And I use that word loosely because it really wasn't a job, although there was a lot of work that went into building it, but it was all worth it. And so I had a full-time Reiki practice, and I taught classes on the side. And I focused on the needs of women and children in particular with behavioral issues. So I had a lot of autistic children that came to me on that spectrum: Asperger's syndrome, autism, ADD, ADHD, and the Reiki, or the energy work, was so receptive to the child. I mean, they literally soaked it up like a sponge, and that was the joy that I received from working with prenatal care, babies in utero, and then children on this side of things, on the earth side, is because they have no preconceived notions and they have no judgments because they haven't been on the earth side as long as you or I have. So they haven't had that much indoctrination or conditioning from all these other elements in the outside world. And so they're like a sponge. They soak it up and they respond very, very well to care. So if you're listening out there today and you're not in the Las Vegas area and you have a child who might benefit from some energy work or for some Reiki work, definitely reach out in your community and find a practitioner who specializes or focuses on children, because it really is much different than working on adults. You know, we spend a lot more time dialoguing with children, or with adults rather. And I just got in the queue that we have a caller on the air. Yay. Okay, so I'm going to stop my rambling. I'm going to take a sip of water, and then we're going to bring Matthew on the line. Okay, I'm ready. Matthew, hi, you're on the air. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you, Amy?
I'm really good. Thanks so much for calling. What can I do for you? What can I help you with?
Well, let's see here. I can call in for a reading. Are you doing readings right now?
I am. You have a specific question that you want to ask me? Because you've got a couple things floating around in your head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about life purpose. I believe I'm on my right track, but I want to crystallize it a little clearer. Is there anything that I'm missing?
Yeah. Are you collaborating with anybody on what it is you want to unleash to the world? Do you have a good collaborator in your corner?
No, actually, at this time, I don't.
Yeah. That would be really beneficial for you, because what you want to do is really wonderful, but sometimes you need an unobjective second set of ears to kind of bounce ideas off of, and that is something that you really need right now. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You need a collaborator, because you know the power of twos is quite strong, and when you have that second person, as funny as this is interesting. Okay, when you're bouncing ideas off this other person, new stuff is going to filter through for you. And it's just the fact that you're saying it to this other person that will allow you to download some new ideas and information on what it is you want to do. But on the flip side of that coin, this other person, okay, and it's important that it's not necessarily someone that you're super close to. Okay, so you might be naturally inclined to go for someone who has known you for many years and who you have a great level of trust for, and you get along really well. But this is someone that actually does not know you very well at all. Okay, and this way, are you building a brand? Are you trying to build your brand?
Yeah, there's a couple of them actually.
Yeah, this is very good. Are you a vegetarian by chance?
Not necessarily.
Okay, but are you?
Used to be.
Yeah. You need your flesh, and that's why I'm saying this. So, you know, if it was something that you dabbled in before, the minerals that are in, you know, meats are something that your body needs. And actually, for this project, this branding stuff that you're working on, it's very important that you fuel your body with enough of the right foods. Okay. Do you do a lot of this creative brain? Wow, you've got a lot of stuff coming in for you. Holy crap. The stuff that you're doing, do you do most of it out of your house?
I do a lot of it from the house, and then I do about 30 to 40% of it from my own studio. So I do have my own space.
Okay, so here's the thing. Sometimes, do you ever feel like you hit a wall when you're working out of your space at home? Do you feel creatively blocked sometimes when you're at home?
Oh, of course.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you need to give more time to creating in your studio and kind of taper back on the amount of time that you're doing it at home, just to kind of shift the balance of energy, because they're saying is that it kind of gets stagnant when you're working at home. It gets stagnant for you, and that brings in a different level of frustration and irritability. So when you're in your work studio, you won't have as much of that in your orbit.
Okay. I feel that.
Okay. So let me go back over this with you, because wow, you're really wide open. And I don't know, do you meditate as well too, or quiet mind time? What is it that you're doing?
Well, I do a lot of work in nutraceuticals and health, healing, other areas as well. But meditation is something I haven't made time for in a while. I've been too busy, kind of, but not making the time, I suppose.
I understand completely. And I think the thing that they're wanting to share with you is that you don't have to make that complicated. And sometimes, meditation is simply, you can be in a meditative state when you're in your studio, quite honestly, because it's almost like it takes you outside your body to that place. And all of a sudden you look at the clock and 4 hours have passed.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Okay, that's a meditative state. It's not necessarily sitting in lotus, chanting Om, and burning incense, which for those of you out there who do that, I'm not knocking that at all. Please don't misunderstand me. But I think for practical purposes, because it's something that you've thought about, but you tend to resist it, change up the playing field. Meditate, go into that state when you're creating, when you're in your studio, or when you come home at night, take a hot shower and, have a nice meal. And that's meditative as well. You can pull the meditative aspect and energy from just about anything we do. It's all in the perspective.
Right. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. Do you have anybody in your family that does wood carvings or is an artist?
Well, my youngest daughter, my daughter is very much into art. She's only 4 years old, but she paints every day.
Yeah, you have.
I don't have anyone else I'm familiar with that is into art.
Okay, yeah, you've got a lot of artistic energy around you, so I must be picking up on her, and so keep her well stocked in art supplies.
Thanks for listening to Everyday Messages with Amy Barilla, the Reiki Gal, Las Vegas. Tune in next week for another inspiring episode.